up, everybody? It's Chad. I'm back again with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. As you can tell, I'm not in my usual spot of the studio or in a lounge. I'm here in Ruidoso at Munchiez with my friend Al here. Thank you so much for joining me.
What's up, man?
What's up, dude? Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting us to, film here. This is a really cool spot.
Absolutely. I appreciate you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you. And to be honest, the weather's a little bit better up here. It's cooler.
Definitely.
It's not as dusty.
It was dusty driving here, man.
Yeah, it was.
Crazy.
I was driving from Southern Park yesterday, and man, visibility was like 50 feet. So, it's a little bit of a relief to be somewhere
That's the beauty of Ruidoso, man. Amazing town, Ruidoso. Yes. You gotta check it out. You gotta check it out.
Yes, check out Ruidoso. I'm from Alamogordo in the area. You guys know that. So, I've spent my life coming up here and everything and fishing and all that good stuff. But now you can go to some consumption lounges. You can come check out Munchiez, really beautiful shop and all the products they have and everything. So if you ever get a chance, come down to Ruidoso. It's fun. Plus, in the summer, it's the best because it's really hot down in the flatlands, as they call it. But thank you again for joining me. We'll get into the episode. But for my viewers that don't know you, could you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Adebo, founder and CEO of Munchiez Cannabis. We started in the year 2022, May 14th, and today's our 3rd year anniversary here in Ruidoso, and I'm excited to be here having this interview with Chad and the squad. But a little bit about me, born and raised in Nigeria. I moved to the States at the age of 16 on an academic scholarship. I was trapping illegally at some point and turned my life around, and now I'm a legal trapper.
Nice.
That's a little bit about me.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And thank you for being a part of this industry and everything. You know, and it shows that anybody can be a part of this industry, not just someone from New Mexico or even the United States. Someone from another country, and I've seen that a few times.
Absolutely.
There's a few people in this industry that aren't from America to begin with.
Absolutely.
They love America, they love New Mexico, but you don't have to be here to love it.
Absolutely.
Or to be from here.
And I'm proudly American now.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I'm an American citizen, but my origins are Nigeria.
Yeah, absolutely. By all means,
So I'm here legally, Trump. Don't deport my ass.
You got a social security number.
I'm legal, baby. Legal trapper in all definitions.
And we'll get on to that too, because that's today's title. Actually, is illegal trapper life. Really.
Yes.
And that's something that we all kind of are dealing with in this industry. Is we're all legal trappers, essentially, especially the retail.
Absolutely.
You guys are legitimately the ones who are trapping.
Yes.
I come from the manufacturing side, so we're just bringing it to you guys. You guys slang it for us.
Yes.
But yeah, this is all legal stuff. And actually, I had you on I was on your podcast.
Yes, this is a while
back in 2022.
2022, yes.
At the very beginning, your shop wasn't even open yet.
No. We didn't even have a license then.
Yeah.
We didn't have a license then. We went based on faith.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And that was crazy that and at the time we had a really strict rule, and there's only one strict rule, and it's that you were in the industry currently, had a license. Yes. And when we brought you on, I was like, you know what? He's probably going to get a license. And here you are, 3 years later.
3 years later.
You guys have 3 stores now?
Yes, 3 stores.
3 stores.
Thanks to the team. The team has been very vital to our growth. We couldn't do it without the team, but 3 years in, 3 stores in, we're still kicking.
Heck yeah, dude. And you got one in Alamo, here in Ruidoso, Cruces, across the street from the studio.
Yes.
I see you guys every week.
Yes. And we're 24 hours in Cruces too. So.
Yes. And that's something huge. There's not a lot of drive-through options when it comes to cannabis right now.
Yes.
In Cruces, there's a few, but throughout the whole state, you don't run into too many and all that. But 24-hour drive-through,
24-hour drive-through.
That's game-changing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. And so if you're in Cruces, 2 a.m., you got the Munchiez, and you want to go smoke some more, go over to Munchiez, man. They're 24/7 in that sense.
Absolutely.
So where did you get your start in cannabis in general? Just as a user, just when you discovered it?
So discovered cannabis at the age of 16. I was in music as a child. So I was in a music group that I was a leader of, and we made some music as children, and we got on some blogs and some radios.
Cool.
And that's how I got introduced into cannabis, being an artist and being very artistic and very creative. Then after that, I had to, pursue my career. I wanted to make something of myself because music was not working for me. So I got into college, and college was not for me as well. And I got introduced to cannabis there, learned about it more and more. Started to know about the dime bags and the eighths and the ounces and the half ounces, the math of it really. And that comes from college. When you party too much, you learn a lot of bad things. And I learned a lot of bad things because I partied too much. But after that, I got into sales, and I started selling vehicles in Dallas, Texas. And I fell in love with sales. I really enjoyed talking to people and having them pay me for talking to them. I didn't understand it, but I loved it. And I got too involved, and I became a manager at a #1 Nissan dealership in the country at the time. And I was 21 at the time. I was a manager, and I was doing very well for myself as a sales manager, and I just started doing other things. I started selling phone cases, drop shipping, just going more into sales. I got into the ATM business, which was also sales, getting contracts signed, placing ATMs. I grew from 1 ATM to 100 ATMs, and from there, I serviced a lot of dispensaries with that ATM business, and I met a lot of dispensary owners. There were young guys just like myself, or young ladies just like myself. And you know what? I can do this too, because these guys are, just like me, have a good personality. They can talk to people and they can sell. Why can't I bring my skills from sales, bring cannabis, which I like, and sell it? And that's how I got into the cannabis space. I was in Oklahoma at the time, servicing ATMs for dispensaries. I saw New Mexico was getting legal. I'm like, man, I told my wife, you know what, maybe we should try New Mexico, open a dispensary. Why not? I heard about Ruidoso through a friend of mine, and I just came here for a weekend. I saw it was a small town. I fell in love with it. Like, you know what, it's a small town. It shouldn't be too competitive. I was wrong. Very competitive. But we tried it out, and now we're here 3 years later.
Yeah, that's great. And it's a good idea to be here in Ruidoso. And I say that because you look at places like Little Dubai or Sunland Park. Yeah. Sunland Park is a ticking time bomb, and they're on I wouldn't say a scheduled ending, because once Texas goes legal, Sunland Park is going to see a really big change there. If they can't figure out a way to keep the Texans there now, they're going to struggle, because once Texas goes legal and El Paso has all the dispensaries,
it's going to be boarded up. Yeah, it's going to be boarded up.
Yeah, there's going to be not much there.
Yes.
Just a skeleton of what it once was.
Yes.
However, Ruidoso will always have the Texans coming here, regardless of what's going on, because that's what was going on before cannabis came here.
Absolutely.
You have so much going on here that brings outside people in that it makes sense. And to be honest, that was smart of you, because instead of going into Las Cruces, Sunland Park, Albuquerque, to the most saturated areas of the state, which, don't get me wrong, Ruidoso became saturated.
Yes.
You didn't throw yourself in the most saturated area to start out with,
Actually, I couldn't.
Okay.
I couldn't. I tried to go to Albuquerque I just couldn't.
What happened?
I just couldn't get a location.
No.
Like I said, I was 25 at the time. Yeah. Not a whole lot of realtors were taking a 25-year-old seriously to come open a dispensary.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't know about you, man. When they look at the financials, they're not really, because, like I said, I'm a legal trapper. I didn't have big back end of this big fund funding us. No, we were straight up scraping credit cards, maxing out everything to open a dispensary. I kid you not. That's how we started. So when they saw the financials, they're like, nah, we ain't about to give you no location. So Ruidoso opened the door for us. They were a little bit more lenient to get us a 4,000 square feet space and took a chance. And that's how it happened. I just couldn't get into Albuquerque if I wanted to. I just couldn't.
Well, good thing you did it, because, Albuquerque is ridiculous right now.
Crazy.
Crazy. Like, the saturation there is real. And to be honest, they make the most sales in the state.
Yes.
It's the highest populated area in the state, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, they're going to make the most. But, little niche places like this,
yes,
they're little gold mines too.
Yes.
You have like Jal, New Mexico.
Yes.
Then you have like Eunice, New Mexico.
Yes.
Ruidoso, these little areas where either the Texans come regularly,
yes,
or they're as close to Texas as possible, where you're going to get that traffic naturally.
And the weather, man.
Oh, the weather, yeah.
It's a getaway.
Yeah, it is. And to be honest, doesn't matter if it's summer or winter, you're going to get those people in.
Yes.
And you get the summer crowd, you get the winter crowd, you get them all.
Yes.
And so that being said,
yes,
what's your favorite crowd?
My favorite crowd? You mean customers?
Yeah, the customers, like the summer crowd, the snow bunnies,
Snow bunnies. When you say snow bunnies.
I'm not talking just, women, I guess. The people who come here to snowboard.
Okay. My best crowd, is definitely summer. Summer that brings the races in and all the people who want to gamble at the casino. Summer, it gets busy for us, and I love summer.
Yeah,
but winter is good too.
Yeah.
All year round, we stay very consistent.
Yeah,
we stay very consistent. And that is going to take care of the customer and just put in customer service first.
Yeah, and that's an important part too that you bring up. A lot of people, they skim over customer service sometimes. It's a get in, get out kind of thing, and people don't realize, and some customers don't even realize this, is that when you go into a dispensary, you don't have to buy from there. And some people feel like you're obligated to buy when you walk in. You're not obligated to buy from anywhere, guys. If a place is making you feel like that, they're probably not doing good enough on their customer service, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. We have to earn your business. Right?
Exactly.
And every day we earn your business. Even if you're a loyal customer, we still try to earn your business.
Yeah.
Every single day. Yeah. We're not, what's the word? Entitled to
there you go.
business. We're not entitled, but we're going to try to earn it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the entitlement came from the medical days. You had these who we call the dirty 30, these dispensaries who were here, and we had no other choice but to buy from them. And so they were entitled, and they're like, well, why aren't you buying from me? And it's like, well, I don't need to.
They're not here anymore.
Yeah,
they're not here anymore.
No, thank God.
They're not here anymore.
Yeah.
The market changed, man. Crazy market change. Like you can be a hero today and zero tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, and like some of the biggest MSOs have come to New Mexico and failed.
Yes.
And failing.
Yes.
And that's unfortunate for them, but at the same time, it shows you that it doesn't mean money doesn't mean everything in this industry. No. You can have the most obviously money in the world and still fail at this. Scott's Green Care, or Scott's, pretty much Scott's Green Care, they're pretty much the grass company. They got into the cannabis industry to bank on the growing stuff, on the equipment and stuff like that, because they do lawn care and stuff like that. But it wasn't profitable because they found out that it's the opposite. When you scale up cannabis, your quality goes down. Versus starting in a micro, you have full control of your quality. When you have 20,000 plants, I don't care who you are, a crew of 10, 20 isn't going to get that done. And they're not going to have the same amount of care that someone is going to have that has 200 plants.
Absolutely.
Or even less.
Absolutely.
That is straight craft. And we learned that. And they're noticing, well, we can't make money off of these big companies. We'll say like maybe Schwazze was one of those, like one of the big ones that people recognize in the state. Maybe they couldn't make money off of those guys because it wasn't profitable enough, and there wasn't enough of those guys to make sense because they're probably getting some of those smaller customers, but they're not buying as much stuff as the big guys are. So they're getting out of it because it's not profitable. And cannabis is different. It's a total different animal. It's a total different game. It's a total different industry. And the way that we go about everything of it has to be a little bit different than everything. Like even when it comes down to state, like New Mexico itself is so different from every other state that when it came to regulations, we couldn't do what California, Colorado, and these other states did. And I'm sure you noticed that yourself.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah.
Very, very. And thank God it's rec too, Makes it very different as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it does, and I'm glad we went rec, like I was getting tired of the medical stuff because we had a bunch of these people that were getting the cards who didn't need the card. By all means, you get your card if you want to be like legally protected, but let's be honest with ourselves. Let's see who really needs the cannabis plant, and everything like that. But I'm glad where we are right now. We're and we talked about this before the show. We're on track to the 5-year stabilization. Usually about 5 years in a legal recreational cannabis market usually is when the market becomes stable. And we're seeing that now. We're year 3. We're starting to see, the amount of dispensary numbers go down.
They're dropping.
They're dropping like flies.
Yes.
And it's happening naturally.
Yes.
It's nothing needed to happen out with the government to make it happen. I knew that was going to happen because there's no way that was sustainable. So the strongest will survive. You guys are still around, and thriving and doing great. Congratulations.
And we're trying to be better every day.
Yeah.
It's a grind. I'll tell you this. Cannabis is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Just because you're trapping legally doesn't mean you're out here making trapper money. You know what I'm saying? You have a bunch of stuff and responsibility, but we love the game. We love the game, and you love the game. Obviously, you're still here kicking like a chicken.
Over a decade, man.
We're doing our thing. We're doing our thing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I hope you guys will stick around for a long time too.
Yes.
It's great that when I hear these stories from people that came from out of state into our market, and their journey, I love hearing about it. Don't get me wrong, not everybody has the positiveness of everyone. Of course, everyone's journey and of course experience is going to differ.
Yes.
But hearing other people, I came from this other state. I love it here. I love the way you guys did this.
Yes.
Of course, it's not perfect. Nothing is.
Yes.
But comparative to other states that have done it, I feel that we're on the right track.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're on the right track and very diverse too.
Yes.
Very, very diverse as far as ownership in New Mexico. And I really like that someone like me can come in and start a business.
Yeah.
It can be done everywhere. I know states like Chicago, you need 1.5 million in the bank to even get a license. So thank God for New Mexico and thank God for Ruidoso.
Ruidoso really hooked y'all up.
Absolutely.
They were really, I was surprised how open arms they were when it came to this. Even Otero County, where I'm from,
very laid back about it.
Yeah, there was whatever.
They were laid back. Yeah.
So
as far as now,
yeah,
now they're very laid back because there's dispensary here, in front of us, behind us, all over.
Yeah,
all over.
And there's lounges, all kinds of stuff. So there's options, but Ruidoso is a interesting little place. Like how close everything is. I came here I think in December. There's some snow on the ground and stuff. We went to check out some lounges, and it was really cool to see it in winter. And like everyone going around the different shops and stuff, and just to see it in a different light. But I digress and everything. Let's get back to Munchiez real quick.
Absolutely.
I'm curious where the name come from.
That's a good question. I gotta give credit to my wife.
Oh, okay.
My wife brought the
They
name
always
up.
come up.
Yeah.
Women always come up with the best names.
She came up with the name and the colors.
Oh, okay.
I'm just the business guy.
Yeah.
I'm just here to sell weed. But the design and all that color scheme, that was all her. She was one of my very first employees, and now she's reaping those benefits. Taking care of our family. And she came up with that name and the color scheme. As far as the branding and the mural and the vibe and the culture, that was obviously my input there, but the name was definitely her.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it has that womanly touch,
Yes.
and the colors. I love the colors.
Yes. So a little bit about Munchiez, we did it for her.
Really?
Yeah, this is I'm talking about for the ladies. This is for the ladies.
Okay.
That was the idea. That's why we have pink and seafoam green and I think it's parakeet. Is that the color? Parakeet green or?
I'm a dude when it comes to colors.
Yeah,
I'm like
but
blue,
anyways.
green, yellow.
But we made it for her because we felt like cookies was blue.
Yeah.
It was very male. Like, we need a female version of that.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much how Munchiez came about.
That makes sense because
Yeah.
it has that. I wouldn't say cookies feel.
Yes.
But it has the aesthetics.
Yes.
Yeah. What I would say.
But it's a female version.
Yeah, the female version of it, for sure.
And we think there's a place for that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think there's a place for that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what's funny is, I wouldn't say funny. What some people don't know, and this is honorable, is New Mexico's medical program was championed by women. It was like pretty much all women that pushed it forward and got it passed. And so, Valerie Hubbard, she was one of the ones that are part of it. She's one of my mentors even now. Shout out to Val, love you much. She still fights with me, and with me and at the state too.
As you, that's normal.
Of course.
If we don't fight, we don't grow.
Of course, and she's my mentor, so she's normally fucking right. So I thank her so much for keeping me on the right track. And of course, the girls that join with me in the town hall stuff, all women too. And so that's how I wanted to keep it as well. So seeing something like this, it's like, there is a space for women because this industry was championed by women. So why not?
Absolutely.
So that's cool. Of course, do you guys do something for October for breast cancer awareness?
We need to.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
need to. We actually have to.
Yeah,
Thanks for bringing it up. We have to. Well, we will.
Oh.
We definitely will.
Okay, coming soon.
And talking about doing something, we have an event. That's Flag Day this year. Weed for Warriors. We're going to be giving back to our veterans in Las Cruces location. I believe it's June. What date is that? June, what Flag Day?
I'm not too sure because it's so
June the 14th.
14th. I'm not too sure on that one either because that's something that we're not too huge on the veteran community with.
Yes.
It's mostly Veterans Day and then the Memorial Day. Flag Day is, I would say, more or less new to my generation of veterans.
Okay.
Because we weren't too sure what the hell it was when it came out.
Absolutely. But I think it's a perfect time.
It is. It is. It's a perfect time to learn.
To give back and help out the veterans.
And to help veterans and women are veterans too. There's a lot of women in our community nation who are women. My cousin and my sister were too.
Yes.
My older sister was in the Army. My cousin, she's still serving in the Army. Maybe she'll smoke weed when she gets out. I think she's retiring in like a year or two, so we'll see. But yeah, something to support the veterans. I thank you on that. Because that's a demographic that gives so much but gets so little back. We put a lot and sometimes pay the full sacrifice. Don't come home.
Absolutely.
And we think about those guys all the time.
Yeah.
And so we're here in remembrance sometimes of those people that we lost. And so if we could support veterans where we can, I thank you.
Absolutely.
Because, that's one demographic that I think, needs a lot of help, is my veterans because, man, you don't know sometimes the calls I get from my buddies and, it's just heartbreaking is the only word I can think of when something like that happens and they're just in dire, just whatever the state may be. So when we have something simple as this, that could save a life. You know what I mean? Like supporting a veteran who's just having a shitty day is like, oh, today's Flag Day. I didn't even know that. I came to the smell. Oh my God, they're thanking me. I got all this shit. Oh my God. They go home and they don't think about what they're thinking about doing before.
Absolutely. I think cannabis can help with that, man. I mean, there's so much that cannabis can do for us, and the pharmaceuticals are destroying our chances at that. I really think we're stacked against a big cartel of individuals who don't want this to be legal. And they're preventing the veterans from accessing that benefit, preventing the people who have the illnesses, the cancer, the arthritis, whatever it is. And it's because, there's a big cartel, which is the pharmaceutical cartel, who's against this. Our body has endocannabinoid system. It's in our body. Yeah. So can we be federally legal too?
I hope so. I mean, one day I really hope we do, because it's bullshit that the fact that they can take these chemicals and put it in a pill and say it's safe when it's not, and then you have something that is safe, and it's illegal as Schedule 1. But then you have Schedule 1 things and Schedule 2 things that can be prescribed. You have fentanyl, it's Schedule 2. Well, I don't know how that is Schedule 2. But I can get that at Walgreens with the doctor prescription, and I had Army buddies who had fentanyl suckers, like a candy, like an edible. And he said I would only need to lick it once or twice and I was good. And it was for pain, pain management. He said I had to stop taking it because it was really addictive and I was just a zombie and I couldn't do that. And I was like, that's crazy. We're trying to fight all of these illegal drug dealers, but we're not looking at the legal ones, that are really causing this issue, and they're preventing anything else.
They're the major problem. In my opinion.
I think so.
Hey, I'm not suicidal. Cut this out. Cut this out. Cut this out. But it's a big challenge. I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, why are we so attacked? Why can't the veterans in Texas get access to the same medicine that we can? But there's a big industry. There's big tobacco. There's big pharmaceutical. They're against this plan.
Those kickbacks are real.
No, they're big.
Yeah, those
they're
kickbacks
big.
are real.
They're big.
And that's why sometimes we get pushed certain medications. And I'm lucky the doctor that I have, she's also the doctor that gives me my cannabis prescription. She's all for me not using pharmaceuticals. I had a stomach issue last year and she said, I can prescribe you this. And I just wasn't thinking of it. She said, or you can, do a lifestyle change. And for some reason, I took the medication and it didn't help. And I did a lifestyle change and my life's way better.
Lifestyle change, even to the diet, guys. I'm tapping into that diet now and really learning about food and what it can do for you.
Yeah.
I believe that's your real medicine.
Yeah,
it's the food.
Yeah,
that's your real medicine.
That's our energy. That's how we keep going.
That's your real medicine. I'm talking about the fruits, and if you go deep into it, people who've had cancer and they stopped eating like processed meals and just went straight to fruit, and they changed their whole anatomy. Yeah, just from changing their lifestyle. So. And I think cannabis is part of that too, because it's natural.
Yeah,
it's natural too.
It really goes down to what you put in your body. Like, the best thing I could think about, especially for car guys, a bunch of car guys out there, if you put premium gas in your vehicle because you want it to last forever, you want to put premium food in your body because you want to last as long as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't have a warranty. We have an expiration date, but we don't have a warranty.
For real. It's the best form of self-care. Yeah. Best form of self-love. So just natural as possible. Very important.
Yeah, 100%. And cannabis is a part of that too.
Yes, big part.
Hopefully we can.
So if you can, rosin over disti. If you can, natural, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The solventless all day. I'm obviously a fan of solventless.
I'm rosin over disti. I don't do disti.
Water, heat, pressure, and ice, man. That's really all you need.
Natural, baby.
Yeah, definitely. So, what are some events? I mean, you guys are actually having an event right now. You have your it's your 3-year anniversary.
3-year anniversary. We have some vendors here. We got a DJ. We have some food as well. Just a nice little get together to celebrate how far we've come, and where we're going as well. Yeah. And we're sort of going to celebrate the team here in Ruidoso, the best team in New Mexico, in my opinion, is our Ruidoso staff. These guys are young. I'm talking about the oldest person here is probably 30 years old. Young crew running the ship on their own, and we're number 1 in Ruidoso with a young crew. And I'm very young as well, so we're definitely going to celebrate these guys here in Ruidoso.
Definitely, that's impressive. The fact that your oldest person is only 30.
Yes.
I'm 38, and I'm like, damn. That's pretty young.
Yes.
And you guys are killing it, doing great. Even in Alamogordo and Las Cruces, you guys are doing pretty good in those areas too.
Absolutely.
And the branding, of course. When I drive by in Alamo, I know where it's at.
Yes.
I know where it's at in Cruces just by the branding and everything.
Absolutely.
So, what are some future events that you have planned?
So of course the Weed for Warriors on Flag Day, June the 14th, and we're gonna have like Chad just instilled in my head the October as well for the ladies, for the breast cancer awareness month. We have to do that. We're gonna have some other events as well coming as well for summer. Right, July 4th, we're gonna have an event July 4th as well. Just stay tuned. It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. Stay tuned. It's coming.
Because you had one of the Bone Thugs here a couple months ago,
Yes,
right?
we have Bone Thugs just in March, and it was packed with a bunch of people in here. We had Crazy Bone, Flesh Bone, and Kane stop by, show us some love. Amazing. I'm actually wearing the collaboration version right now. Munchiez and Bone Thugs collab, but love those guys, man. They showed us some love. The town of Ruidoso showed us some love, and it was an amazing event. Yeah, we're gonna do more of those over and over again. Hopefully, do a concert eventually, if God, by God's grace. So yeah. It's coming.
And that's great because sometimes these artists go to the end of the mountain gods.
Yes.
So it's a one-stop shop,
Absolutely.
kind of thing for them. They before the show they stop here, do the thing, and then go to the show. So
This is the best stop before the show. Trust me. You gotta stock up and go there. You know what I'm saying? You gotta stock up. We got everything. We got every single product you can think of here at Munchiez. Come on.
Yeah, definitely. And you guys got merch too. Yeah, you know, we got the shirts right here. I love these shirts. We got different ones too. And I love that when I go into a shop, I don't want to just see cannabis. You know, sell me something else too. Sell me a T-shirt. Sell me a pipe with it. Sell me some papers.
We even got snacks. We got some exotic snacks.
I love that. Yeah. Oh, the exotic ones from like different countries and stuff. Oh, I love that.
You want some? We got that.
Yeah. I even saw a dispensary yesterday. They had like chips. Something simple as that. You know, chips. You know, because when I go smoke, maybe I don't want to stop at the gas station. Maybe I want to buy chips where I'm at, you know, so I want to just go straight home. So, you know, that's great that you guys thought about that, because some people are just, like we said before, I have weed, I open my doors, you come in, and that's not the way it works. You know, like you have to entice that customer, you have to convince the customer, and you have to make sure that that customer is happy at the end of the day, you know, because, you know, the customer drives your business.
Yes.
You know,
no, the customer is everything. Without the customer, we're nothing. Customer is everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Customers dictate how we sell, what we sell, when we sell, what we wear sometimes. They dictate everything. So customer.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a total different market now. So what are some things that you personally want to see from the New Mexico industry to change?
I really want to see a reduction in taxation. That's the biggest thing for me. I'm not going to lie to you. I was talking to one of my buddies. He owns a major brand here in New Mexico as well. He's vertically integrated. And he said, if you're going to be a retailer in the cannabis industry, you have two options. Either you pay yourself as the owner, or you pay the government. But to do both, that's the hard part. Very difficult to do both.
Yeah.
And it struck a big light bulb in my head. I'm like, oh my goodness. Is it that bad? And it really is. It really is. About 70% tax we have to pay on our income, and we got to give the state another 20% of when they buy here, the excise and the GRT. And if we could get a break, a reprieve, especially for the smaller guys and the bigger guys, just cut it down, man. Make it fair for everybody. Why do I have to pay more taxes than the guy who owns the liquor store? Why do I have to do that? It's not fair to us, especially if we're trying to do it the right way. What that does, a lot of taxation makes it easy for guys to break the law.
Yep.
It makes you pretty much putting them in the box where they're left with no choice. Do I do it the right way, or do I break the law? So if you want to see less crime and less trafficking, reduce the taxation. So the guys who are honest about, doing taking care of people, customers, and making a honest living, they can do it the right way.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing I want to see a different change, is just the taxation, federally and on the statewide. If you can change that, that would help the economy a whole lot. Because now there'll be more money for people to spend. You know what I'm saying? So that's the biggest thing in the industry. It's the taxation.
And I guess the government, they think that you charge high, you make high, but you can make a lot of money by charging low. Absolutely. By making more transactions. Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're going through. Because if you guys don't know, in July 1st, the taxes are going to go from 20 to 21%, or from 12 to 13% here in New Mexico. They add on the GRT state tax at the end of the day, and it makes it 21%. These taxes are actually due to increase every year until 2028. Will be close to about 26% at the end of the day. If that happens, we're going to see businesses go out of business. We're going to see the traditional market kind of take over, and we're going to see like retail shops that were once doing it right start doing the wrong thing. Absolutely. Just so they can make it. Absolutely. And that's what we're seeing in California.
Absolutely. Because you imagine your margins are already slim. You already have slim margins. And see, let me break it down to the customer. I mean, 26% in tax, you know what that means? It means now, as time goes on, your tax goes up. But also, as time goes on, your prices are supposed to come down. Mm-hmm. Because every year, the prices come down. So the price comes down, but the tax goes up. You have to account for that increase in tax. You have to make up for the increase in tax, because you can't increase your price as well. You got to decrease your price, then increase the tax. So now your margin is even slimmer. So now, and it's very competitive. So now you got to fight a price war with the guy next door. Your taxes are going up when your prices are going down. It's crazy shit, man.
Yeah. And to be honest, like, I hate to blame ourselves when it comes to this, because we preached to the government for decades. Tax it, tax the shit out of it, tax the living shit out of it. When it came down to practice to taxing the living shit out of it, it doesn't really work. It's not a very good system. And
I don't mean to interrupt.
No.
If you're gonna tax the shit out of it, make it federally legal, where I can ship it. Don't seize my product at Border Patrol. If I'm moving product at the Border Patrol, don't seize my product if you're gonna tax it. Yeah. But you can't have both. You can't be federally legal. You can't get funding. You can't get banking and be taxed. It's at that point, it's like we're dealing with the mafia. We gotta pay a fee to be protected. Yeah. And we're never protected. Yeah. So it's a double-edged, but never complaining. I love the industry, baby. I fucking love it.
Yeah,
fucking love
with the good and the bad.
Yes,
right?
I fucking love
Yeah,
it.
with it comes both. You know, we have to figure out it all. But at the end of the day, we will figure it out eventually. It's
Hopefully.
just not going to be.
It's not going to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not going to be tomorrow.
Or next year.
Or next year.
Yeah. It's going to eventually come one day.
But what I say that we can learn from it is just, how to do things the right way. And we're just talking about how some retailers can't pay their vendors anymore. And I understand on the retailer side of things, it gets hard. But now we have to learn how to do well in this industry that's stacked against us. I mean, we already have things stacked against us. We use cannabis. We're already looked at as bad apples, right?
Yeah.
But now we got to make ourselves look better. Pay your vendors, guys. Pay your vendors. And if you can't pay right away, make a payment plan. You see what I'm saying? Do things the right way. Get banking. If you can't get banking, pay people cash. Do whatever you got to do it the right way. So, and
Trade, shit.
Trade.
Someone got a tractor. They told me, or something like that. Trades, something equivalent.
Right. Yeah. Take something. Take something.
Yeah.
But eventually, I think the bad apples will be weeded out with all this regulation, and the ones who are really strong will stay. And our goal is just to be the last one standing, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna do whatever it takes. If that means the owner of Munchiez Cannabis doesn't pay himself, I don't care. I won't pay myself. I want to do it for my customer. I'll take no paycheck for my customer.
Hell yeah. I love hearing that because most of them are like, I want a Lamborghini and 10 boats and, whatever, like.
It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. And I see the guys that are always like doing that. And I'm like,
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It's not. It's going to take a while for us to get to that point. It's going to take a while. I think we'll probably 10 years before we can actually start buying Lambos with some cannabis.
yeah. And we have to think about the shift too. This is something I've talked about seldomly, not as much as I probably should. We have to think about what we're going to do when it goes beyond the cannabis retail front. Once we get federal legalization, we're not going to see as many retail fronts like we see today because we're going to see distribution.
Yes.
So retailers are going to have to figure out how to turn into a distribution.
Yes.
Because
Or consumption.
Consumption. Oh
Or
my God.
consumption.
Yeah. I
Or
mean,
consumption.
that's one thing that people are like overlooking right now
Yeah.
is how much you can make with the consumption lounge.
Yeah.
Like the overhead on that,
If done right.
If done right.
If
correct,
done
of
right.
course.
You got to do it very well. And it's not an easy task.
No.
It's not an easy task.
And if you don't understand that it's not retail and it's something else.
Experience.
Yeah, it's a total experience, a customer experience. If
Yes.
you can't give that and provide it, you're gonna fail.
No.
And we've seen that time and time again.
Now you're right. You're right. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Because once it gets federally legal, it's gonna be very tough.
It is.
Because now you can buy it at Walmart.
Yeah.
Walmart
exactly.
has the liquor stores already.
Yeah, exactly.
You can buy tobacco at Walmart.
Yeah.
So if you can buy your weed at Walmart or at the gas station, what makes your dispensary special from the next one? You're gonna be out of business in 2 days.
Yeah.
Seriously. So it's gonna take you building a brand, of course, like I said, a personal brand, of course, a company brand as well, and getting a good name for yourself.
Yeah.
Really. It's
100%. Yeah. So pay your bills and look to the future.
look to the future.
But what I want to talk about too, speaking of personal brand and content,
Yes.
you've been doing more content again, actually.
Yes, I'm making content again.
Yes.
Finally. Yes. I never believed in social media, but now I believe in it. Chad has shown me the vision. Now I believe in it. It's super important for us to build brands, especially as business owners in the cannabis industry. We already have it hard on social media. Our pages get taken down all the time. I lost 6 business pages just last year. All Munchiez pages, 6 times in 1 year. So if you have a personal brand as a business owner, you can lose a page, start again, and do it all over again because now they know your face.
Yeah.
Like Chad right now, if you lost your account, I'm pretty sure in the next 6 months, you should be back to where you are right now.
Yeah.
You should be, right?
Yeah.
Because of your face.
Yeah.
But if a business loses their account, it might be hard for them to get it back up. So that's the importance of that branding. And I'm learning every day. I'm a student of the game. I don't know it all. And it's super important. That branding is actually more important than sales, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you can turn that to sales.
Yeah. And I love what you chose to go with, the life of a legal trapper.
Yes.
Like that's such a great way to start to show people this is what I go through as a business owner in the cannabis industry. Because you don't see that as much, you don't see the face. You see the building. You
see the building,
you see the employees.
Yes. Yeah, and it comes with experience too. I didn't learn that when I first started. When I first started, I thought it was better to be low key.
Yeah.
Don't let nobody know about you.
Yeah.
Be how do they say? Be seen and not heard. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Fly under the radar.
Yeah. Move in silence.
Man, that works when you're on the streets. When you're on the streets, you want to be low key. But when you're doing it legally, you have nothing to fucking hide. Open up the book, man. I'm an open book. You can investigate. I'm not committing no crimes. So might as well show them the face. This is what we do. This is what I do. I'm a young African-American man who owns a dispensary and a couple more in New Mexico, and I do a good job at it. I want to show you how I do it. I want to show you how I hire people. I want to show you what I'm looking for in a team. How I fire people, how I bring them back. these are things that people want to learn.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that I'm more confident that I can show that part of myself and say, hey, I am a legal trapper, and I don't care about the judgment. I don't care who judges me or who says something bad about it. Who cares? We're doing this shit because this is a movement. We want to build this movement.
Yeah, and someone's always going to have something negative to say about something.
Absolutely.
So like, why am I going to let that bother me? I wouldn't be here for almost 13 years if it wasn't for me just not giving a shit about that.
Absolutely.
But before we move on, I actually wanted to give you something from my own personal brand. This is from us and the Reservoir Dogs. I already got it sent to you from the girls. They did the signature and everything, the paperwork, the bio track. I got your name. So this is the Reservoir drop, guys. I've given it to him. I wanted to give him a sample.
Is this rosin?
This is hash rosin. Ooh. This is what we worked on with High Lonesome.
I love that rosin.
Yes, and so this is our packaging. So some of you are seeing this for the first time as well. So congratulations, you all are seeing the
Popstar. I like that.
So Popstar is one of my favorite ones. Very terpy, tastes so good.
I like it.
I wanted to give you this live on air and everything, just so you say thank you for bringing us, and also
I appreciate that.
in hopes that maybe we can get it in the shop sometime.
Of course, why not?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, man.
Let's fucking do it. I like it. We got that kind of Vice City type vibe to it.
Yeah,
I like it.
And we got a bunch of different other ones. That's just the Popstar itself. So yeah, all of them have their own vibes.
Hey, watch out for this. Come into a Munchiez store near you.
Heck yeah.
I love that rosin. So. Hell yeah.
So yeah, we wanted to make sure we gave that to you and everything, man. We got to get that sample out. You know, got to get and that's the thing about your branding, guys. You got to get out there. And we're hitting the streets right now as is. The only place that we're available right now is Royal Road in Las Cruces, and hopefully here in Munchiez.
Munchiez coming soon. Let's do it. Ruidoso, let's do it.
Ruidoso,
whenever you're ready, I'm ready.
Okay.
I mean, summer is gonna be big for us.
Yes.
And they're gonna be a lot of big spenders. So, and rosin is for big spenders. So.
Heck yeah.
Let's make it happen.
We'll get you an order for him after the show.
Make it happen.
Heck yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes.
But that's pretty much all I have for your side and everything. Is there anything else you want to bring up before we move on?
Well, not really. Just ready to get going.
Heck yeah, let's do it. And thank you so much for being on the show again with me again. Beautiful shop, beautiful location, beautiful city. And you guys are killing it. So thank you so much, and I wish you nothing but luck. I can't wait to see, the more events, especially, the Flag Day stuff. And of course, when we're saving the boobies down in October.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to all of this stuff, man. And thank you so much. And thank you for being in this industry.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I'm here to stay.
Heck yeah. Yeah. And we welcome you with open arms.
Sir, absolutely.
So let's move on to the next topic we got today. We got a couple more guys. I'm going to be talking about drinks again. And the reason why is because they're not going away. And I keep seeing hints of it everywhere taking over. Now, I gave you guys a timeline of maybe 10 to 15 years where it's going to be the number one way that people consume, but I might be wrong and it might be sooner. And the reason why I'm saying that is because it's already being pushed as an alcohol alternative, and there's already alcohol companies either fighting it or just joining it. So we have this little weird thing where you have some fighting it, but some saying, why fight them? Just join them, and we're going to make the money. And this is mostly on the hemp side. Yeah. This is where we're seeing this right now. The hemp drink industry is ridiculous right now. When I was in Austin, I saw so many drink mixers, syrups, seltzers, you name it. They were giving it out like candy, trying to get people to try it. And I can see this being the future for cannabis. It just makes more sense. People love convenience.
I think people are more open to that drinking idea because alcohol is so normalized.
Yeah.
And if you can just add it as a seltzer, it gets accepted. I don't know why, but something about smoking that just pushes them away.
Yeah, and I think some of it has to do with we did such a really good job in the 80s and 90s of making smoking the devil.
Yeah.
And it's partially our fault.
It's like an edgy, bad.
Yeah. And it was always like that dude in the leather smoking a cigarette. That was the bad guy.
Yeah, like the bad guy.
Yeah, the bad guy's always smoking or something, So it's always that stigma on top of it.
Absolutely.
But the good guy's like, martini, or something classy.
And you're right, because I was just in the Midwest about 3 weeks ago, and I'm telling you, the bars already serving Delta 9 hemp drinks. The liquor stores, they have sections filled with Delta 9 hemp drinks. So it's a big thing.
Yeah,
it's a big thing. I underestimated it, but hemp is not so bad.
No, it's not.
And it has less regulation.
Oh, God. It's less like
taxes.
none.
Less taxes. So it's a loophole that I think people should really check it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I've said that myself. I was like, maybe we should have done hemp for a little bit too on the side.
I know.
Did both because
it's money.
Yeah, it is.
You still make money.
Yeah, it is. It's totally federally legal too.
Yes.
Like in
you can
every
get a bank account.
Yeah, I can send this to Texas.
Less taxes.
Yeah,
maybe we should do hemp.
I know, right? Where the hell am I? But things are changing on that front too.
Actually, let me ask you a question.
What's up?
What do you think about THCA?
THCA? I mean, what do you mean?
because it's also hemp derived, right?
Yes.
And it's a loophole.
Yeah.
Because I was in Wisconsin just not too long ago, and I went to a smoke shop. I got some THCA flower. I kid you not, it was the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's just immature weed.
So the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I'm not a novice.
Yeah.
I'm not an amateur.
Yeah.
You know, it was the exact same thing.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's just immature weed. They pull the plant before it goes over that 0.3% threshold. And so they're just pulling it early, a few weeks early. And
thing.
that's how they stay under it. And Texas got savvy with the way they're doing it is they can do a 10 milligram drink or more. It goes by volume of what's in the can. It doesn't go by milligrams. So they're going by like a volume thing. And so people have found little tricky ways to get around certain things. But yeah, THCA, it's just essentially immature cannabis. Like, am I a fan of it? I have no opinion, negative or positive with it. Have I tried it? Yeah. Would I use it all the time? Maybe not, because you're dealing with an unactivated compound. You'd have to smoke it. If it's in a drink, I'm not going to feel anything. Will I get medical benefits? Sure. You know, there'll be some benefits that I'll get from it. You know, maybe I'll have a little less anxiety or something, but I'm not going to get stoned because of the THCA that's in there. That's
On the edible side.
On the edible side. But smokable side, all day, because it activates once you heat it up. You know, once you heat it up, man, it's regular weed.
Exact same thing, man. And they're shipping this thing across.
Yeah.
All those trappers, man. If you're trapping and you're committing you're risking penitentiary chances. Get rid of your packs.
Yep.
Get into some THCA flower. I'm telling you, you can do it legally. You can still ship it. You're not gonna go to jail because it's legal.
Yeah, and you have way less regulations than you do in like legal cannabis. Like sitting here with this, you know, the dispensary, like you do way less paperwork on that side. Shit, we did less paperwork to drop UAV bombs in Iraq than we do to sell weed.
I know.
You know, like that's what's ridiculous. Is we've overregulated this, and I've said that many times. You know, and I will kick this horse until it's powdered.
Absolutely.
We need to deregulate this industry at some point.
Absolutely.
You know, it needs to get to a point where okay, this just caused issues. This makes no sense. This is redundant, and this is bullshit. So let's not do any of this.
I think we need to look at what other countries are doing.
I think so.
Just last summer, I went to Amsterdam and I went to Canada. Canada's legal.
Yeah.
How come Canada doesn't have a problem with the gateway drug narrative?
True.
Why don't they? How come Amsterdam doesn't have a problem of cannabis causes schizophrenia? The narrative they're pushing.
Yeah.
How come those countries don't have the problems that America says we're gonna have if we legalize it?
Yeah.
How come kids are not doing more drugs with the cannabis in the Netherlands?
Yeah.
And it's legal there. It's been legal for a long time.
Yeah.
How come they don't have more school shootings than we do?
Yeah. That's true. You know, and there's a lot of things that go into that, and it can't just be one thing. But we need to look at it. You know,
We need to learn from them.
Yeah, exactly.
How come they're okay?
Yeah.
How come we don't hear nothing bad about the Netherlands?
And in Germany, they just legalized cannabis last year. I mean, they're taking a really great approach, but they're not having the same stigma issues.
No, they're
you know,
not.
It's very open.
They're not.
I have a friend who lives in Germany, and she's having a great old time over there with it.
They're not. Because you know why? The cannabis is not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's not what Fox News tells you it is. You know? And nothing against Fox News. I'm just saying their opinions are pretty outdated when it comes to cannabis.
Yeah.
Right? And that's an objective opinion about what they say, right? So look at Canada. How come they're not having those problems that they say we're going to have if we legalize?
Yeah. I mean,
That's
they
what I'm saying.
have other issues, but yeah, they don't have that same stigma. Because right now, even with the drinks, you know, people are like, oh, there's going to be too much THC. People are going to freak out at the bars and this and that. You know,
not true.
It's not at all. And what I've noticed too is the groups tend to stay away from each other, the drinkers and the cannabis users. So we have bars next to consumption lounges and retail spots right now, and they don't
mix.
Because most people who drink don't want to smoke because it's going to make them sleepy.
You're going to get twisted.
Yeah, and you're going to fucking get sick.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, some people that do drink also do cocaine. From what I've noticed, especially in the restaurant.
Is that a
field.
big thing?
It kind of is, especially in El Paso. El Paso, it's a huge
That's an
thing.
expensive habit.
It is. In El Paso, they love to drink and do cocaine.
Oh my goodness.
And so I've noticed that people who do that don't want cannabis, and they straight up told me this, it's going to fuck up my high. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, you're not going to ruin mine then. I'm going to go smoke. So yeah, you know, they drink and do cocaine, and I'm not every drinker, but you know, this is something that I've noticed that people that do that, that's what they tell me. I don't want to fuck up my high. And I'm like, well, by all means, man, do whatever you want.
That's your opinion.
Yeah, whatever. You know, that is expensive, but all right.
Expensive, and it's not the plan. It's not, you know, you have to process that stuff.
Yeah, and it's processed with like, you know, diesel fuel,
laxatives,
all kinds of other chemicals and shit. Like it's not natural at all.
No, it's not.
You know, it's not like, you know, hash rosin that was through a water, ice, pressure, heat process. Yeah,
clean.
You know, like that's processed through something that's more of a clean process.
Clean.
Cocaine, ugh, you have no clue what
That's
that
bad
went
for
through.
you.
Yeah. So,
Kids, don't do drugs.
yeah, please don't. Plus, it ruins the cartilage in your nose. It makes it very weak. People I know that have a cocaine issue, they get bloody noses really easy.
It's not necessary.
Yeah, there's really no reason. But I digress. Let's get back to the cannabis drink thing. So, I think I am going to be wrong on my timeline.
Okay.
I think I overshot it, and I think it's because I still didn't think it's as powerful as it is, because like I said, people love convenience. That's why pre-rolls are king still. Convenience. Like if I want to smoke, I don't want to, I'm a regular user, I don't want to grind it up, roll it, whatever. I just want to boom, smoke, go. Same thing with this. I just want to pop, drink, go. If I'm at a concert venue, I don't have to worry about the smoke, anybody getting offended.
No, you're right. And the fast acting ones too.
Yes, and especially
acting ones too.
Man, yeah, with the nano emulsification technology that's coming out with these.
Yes.
Oh god, that's night and day
It's like
difference.
15 minutes. You feel it.
And it's equivalent to what you would feel like with like a tequila shot.
Yeah.
And that's what they're saying is it's almost equivalent to that.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm bringing it up. But we have those other companies that are jumping in on this. Like the big companies, Trueville, Curaleaf, Green Thumb. They're all launching a THC drink. I guess one's called Onward and Senorita. Recently at Collection 420 increases the consumption lounge. I had a margarita, a virgin cannabis infused margarita. And man, it had, tahini on the brim. It was just like a margarita, just no alcohol. I had 2 of them and I had a great time. I went to sleep, slept great.
Wow.
Didn't wake up with the hangover, and I still got to enjoy a margarita. And just the way I guess we can call it a Mary Rita.
So those drinks are where it's at.
The drinks are where it's at.
That's where it's going.
It's where it's going. It's where the industry's going. Now, it's not going to be next year, the year after. I'm saying my new prediction is 8 years.
8 years, really?
8 years. And I could even be wrong there, because what I'm seeing now and what I'm seeing pop up, it could be even sooner, like 5 years.
So would you say if somebody came up with an idea of opening a consumption lounge, like a bar, and just sold cannabis drinks, they'll do well?
Oh, they'll do great. Because, when I go to the lounge, people are smoking the whole time, they're vaping, but they're also drinking. Most people that are there have a drink on their table, if not more. And every time I go to the lounge, well, not every time, sometimes I go to the lounge, they're out. And I had Donna on the show a couple months ago, and I asked her, I was like, how many are you guys going through right now? And at the time, she said 250 a week of drinks that we're going through. And to be honest, it's probably increased since then. And I think she was giving me a conservative number. I think there was more, but because those things fly off the shelf, and now they're getting more crafty with it. They have little shooters and stuff. You can
and this is in Cruces, right?
This is in Cruces at the consumption lounge.
Okay.
But I do think that if someone did a consumption lounge solely drinks, and you took a mixology approach to it, I think you do great, because you can mix it up. You can say, all right, this week we're gonna have the Munchiez, the Munchiez Arita on the rocks. Next week we're gonna have cucumber sour, for you, or for the special. You can change it up. It leaves it for something new, and you don't necessarily have to change the cannabis that goes inside of it. Like with cannabis, with rosin and stuff and flower, we're always looking for the next and best cultivar. What's the next flavor? Well, with drinks, you already got the flavor. You already have everything in there that you want. And with nano-emulsification and using solventless, you get the full plant. You don't get just the distillate THC. So I think we're setting ourselves up to be.
So you still get the effects of the terps and everything in the drink, everything.
Yeah, everything.
You get the CBD and everything.
Yeah, CBD,
All the
CBG,
cannabinoids,
TBN,
everything.
THC, the cannabinoids. Everything is in there.
So it's a better product.
It's a better product. And as technology goes on, and if this is done right, I see this being the number one way that people consume cannabis. It won't be the only way, but it will be the number one way.
You think it'll beat vape?
I think it'll beat vape.
Really?
I think vape and smoking will be number 2.
Really?
Yes. I firmly believe on that, because there's a lot of people betting on this, and a lot of people seeing that. We've seen it in other states, like you've said yourself, like in Chicago, liquor store,
it's a
bars,
big thing.
Even
it's a
at
big thing.
AAA baseball games,
Even at
they
the
sell
Mall of America.
Mall of America. I think even Green Bay Packers.
Yes.
I think even at that
the Mall of
stadium they
America.
have.
I saw it there at the Mall of America.
Yeah,
in the bar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's already here.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that more people are going to have to come online, and we're slowly starting to see that. And then now, with the newer generations not drinking as much, they're looking for alternatives. We're seeing more of these mocktail bars pop up and these mocktail drinks. Like I keep seeing them on TikTok. Oh, this mocktail. Well, just add cannabis to it, and you have something that is a little more fun for most people. So that's kind of where I'm basing this 8-year thing off, because last year was when we found out that for the first time in history, people are using cannabis more than they're using alcohol. And so that change right there was almost like the tipping point. And from here on out, it's going to be up to us. Are we going to push this, or are we just going to push the same old thing?
Retailers,
yeah, the retailers,
manufacturers, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and we have to go and educate people too.
Absolutely.
So, and that's actually where my next topic is going to be. And if you don't have anything else for the drink thing, we'll move on to the last topic.
Absolutely, let's go.
Cool, let's do it. So let's talk about the education thing, because you can have as many drinks as you want in the whole world, but if people don't know about it, they're not educated, they're not going to get it, and they're not going to know it's there. So I've talked about this a couple times, but I really want to dig into this because I've noticed that there is a big disparity when it comes to retail spots and the customers being educated. And sometimes bud tenders aren't educated as much as they should be. That's only the fault, not of the bud tender, but the management and the ownership. Obviously, you are training your employees very well.
Yes.
Your employees know what the hell they're talking about, which is great, because I wouldn't say I hate, but I dislike going to a dispensary when I say, hey, you know, what hash rosin do you say? Oh, you want dabs? And I'm like, yeah. And then they give me like, you know, BHO, or they give me distillate. I'm like, okay. You know, like, I'm not trying to be insulting, but it's kind of like, it's not what I asked for.
And that's the bare minimum. If you don't know what hash rosin is and you work at a dispensary, that's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
That's the bare minimum.
Yeah. And if you don't know the difference between resin and rosin, or, you know, live rosin and live resin,
These are the bare
another thing.
minimums.
The bare minimum information you need to know. And you need to be able to tell the customer this too, because I go to other dispensaries, and it's not very few that, you know, don't know rosin, but they all know rosin. And so you educate your customer, you're educating them when they go to other places too. And sometimes they might educate the bud tender themselves.
Absolutely.
You know, and that education goes on. What I am noticing though is a lot of these places are hesitant and afraid to push education on the customer because they're afraid of alienating the customer and telling them what they want, when that's not the way it really needs to be. If you look at any other industry, they use education subtly, you know, in almost a secretive way. Posters, memes, advertisements, jingles. We can do that in cannabis too. And I've told people this before, and I'm sure I've said it on the show. You can have a customer come in 10 times. And if you had that poster up the whole 10 times, the 8th time, maybe they got curious. And maybe the 10th time they asked about it. But it took 10 times. But if you didn't have that poster, that 10 times goes to 0. 0 times will that customer be curious about that poster. It may have taken him 10 times, but he eventually got curious. And that's what you're pushing for. You're not trying to sit there and stand on a soapbox and preach the good word of the cannabis plant and what it can do and educate everybody.
That's not going to work.
It's not.
It's not going to work.
You can't force it. And teachers have learned that themselves too. You have to figure out your demographic. And the best way to do it, posters, memes, make a funny joke out of it. You know, like, my content, I try to keep it light, make you guys laugh at the same time, but at the same time educating you. And that seems to work for the most part, you know? And even you with your content, you know, the legal trapper stuff, you're educating people on what it's like to be in this industry.
The business side.
Yeah, and you're doing it funny. I mean, there's times where you get your crew in on it.
And I dance.
Yeah, you dance, walking barefooted.
Yeah. Hey, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Screw it. You know, everyone loves to dance.
Hey.
Yeah, you know, like I dance sometimes, just not on camera.
Let's do it.
But we're going to have to figure out how to educate people more.
I'll say this, especially for the retailers out there and manufacturers and growers. You want to position yourself as the expert in the industry. You got to know how to communicate that education. You can't just be like, hey, this CBG, CBN, nano, this. You got to speak the language of the customer.
Yeah.
Who's your customer?
Yeah.
You got to know your customer.
Yeah.
Don't go be speaking big vocabulary. You know, explain to them how, you know, what it'll make them feel like. Hey, you have an issue. This can help you with this.
Yeah.
You got this. This can help you with this.
Yeah.
You know, you have a, you know, you can't smoke. Okay, maybe let's go with the drinks instead of smoking. You know, how about you go with the edibles?
Yeah.
Okay, medical. It's got 50 milligrams, microdosing. This is how we get it a little bit more familiar and a little bit more friendly to the customer. Because trust me, customers get frightened about cannabis sometimes. They come in and they're like, I don't know what I want. So it's our job, especially on the retail side of things, to make it very friendly, user-friendly to the customer. That's a skill you have to learn. And I think here at Munchiez, we perfected it. I think other stores as well do a very good job at it as well. I know some shops, you know, in Sunland Park. I know you mentioned some shops in Sunland Park. I know Dark Matter does a good job at educating. I went there.
Oh, man,
and
those
they do a
bud
very
tenders are
good job
amazing.
at educating. So make it friendly, friendly, and make it easy for the customer.
Yeah.
And you know, I was talking to Don, this is 2 years ago, about the Indica Sativa hybrid.
Oh God.
And we talked about how that is, you know, that's outdated. We shouldn't be telling customers Indica Sativa hybrid. But I disagree with him, because I said the customers, they understand that.
Yeah.
And if we don't have an alternative for that, we can't take it away.
Yeah.
They come in looking for that.
Yeah.
What are you gonna tell them?
So
that everything's hybrid? You're gonna piss them off.
And that's a good point.
You're gonna piss them off.
And my answer to that is we're gonna have to either collectively create a system or you create the system. This is uplifting. This is sedative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you got to change the word and use those words. Like they can use the indica sativa,
Mm-hmm.
but always use the terminology sedative, uplifting, or something like that.
How it makes them feel.
How it makes them feel.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I like
Versus, you know, the indica sativa, because
love
it's a little confusing.
And I agree with you on that because people don't care about what you know. They care about if you care.
Exactly.
They want to care if you care about it.
Yeah.
Not
I
what you know.
don't want you to be sedated.
Yeah.
You know, you said you have something to do today. I want you to be uplifted. Let's get you something uplifting. You know, like, and they go, oh, okay. Yeah. Thank
That's
you.
where education comes in, right?
Exactly.
That's where it comes in.
And you know that's where I go. You know, you hear me say cultivar, not strain. You hear me say uplifting and sedative instead of indica sativa. You know, and I do that in my everyday vocabulary. It's a practice. And if you do that with the customer, they'll eventually catch on because this isn't something that I'm just preaching. That the bud tenders are just preaching. This is information that is around the whole industry, nation, worldwide. It's just there's not everybody on the same page yet, you know, and we're trying to get there. And it's a slow process. You know, they're slowly starting to get it. Like with the whole indica sativa conversation, that's a hill I'll die on. That, you know, those are growing terms and they're not cannabis use terms. But we do need an alternative. You know, where do we stand? And that's just one way we can start.
I mean, indica sativa hybrid, I understand it.
Yeah.
It gives the customer easy options.
No, of course.
It makes it simple.
Yeah, it does.
3 options.
Yeah.
Indica sativa hybrid.
Yeah.
And they bought into it.
Yeah, of course.
So we can, what's the word I'm looking for? We can replace it. It's gonna be very hard to.
It is, and it was our fault. You know, we're the
Yeah.
ones who educated them in the first place. That it was indica
So we gotta
sativa.
re-educate them.
So we have to, and we're going to have to do that a lot because there's things that we're learning so much about this cannabis plant. I mean, last week they discovered a new cannabinoid. You know, like
No, trust me.
yeah,
We're learning every day.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I just learned about THCA this year. That's how I'm learning every day.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Like
Yeah.
it's such a big plant, and it just goes bigger and bigger. And there's a THCP.
Yeah.
There's a THCV. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, and it just goes so deep, and you're like,
but it's amazing. Like it shows you that this thing is beyond our knowledge yet. You know? And we should not be regulating it as much as we should be studying it and learning about the plant rather than regulating the fuck out of it.
yeah, you know, we do more good by learning and educating than we do just striking the hammer down.
Absolutely.
You know, like I understand that's the way government works, but it doesn't have to. If we put in a lot of the work before the government even thinks about it, they're never going to force it on us because we're doing it already. We're policing ourselves. And that's where this education comes. You know, like with high THC, that's another hill I'm going to die on and kick that horse until it's powder and blown in the wind.
It doesn't mean nothing.
It doesn't mean shit.
It doesn't mean nothing.
It's only one compound that you're focusing on. That is ridiculous. There's so much more in this plant. We're finding the benefits of terpenes and tropicana sulfurs and the scatoles and all that.
If you're buying based off a percentage, do you buy your alcohol based on percentage? That's a real question.
Yeah.
Who buys their alcohol based on percentage? I'll wait. Who does? Nobody does.
A lot of Miller Lite drinkers out there.
Oh man, this Jack Daniel's only what? Oh, nah, I can't buy it. It's not 90% proof.
No one does that. So why you want to buy your weed like that?
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Because I can buy Everclear right now, which is like
100%.
195 proof, right?
No one's shopping like that.
No, like the only time I saw that was in college for Jungle Juice, and that was
That
was dangerous.
That was it.
Yeah, and you were weird. You're like, what? This has what? Oh.
It was a 50-50. You might not make it.
Exactly.
So why are we
And-
shopping for weed like that?
Exactly. And again, that was our fault. But only to a certain extent because we just didn't know any better, you know, but we do need to take responsibility for that and fix the problem.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's our responsibility now to do this. And that's why I'm having this conversation.
Yes.
And before I end the show, I'm just going to give you guys some real good tips that I even looked up myself because I was having a hard time, you know, bumbling my brain, you know, things that I have. So you can use creative signage and visuals. That's one way to do it. Infographics. Did you know? Terpene charts, cultivar maps. You can do QR codes or micro learning, you know, like just little things there. You know, did you know? Cannabis tip of the day. Humor and memes. You know, that's something like I've already mentioned themselves. Jingles, audio loops, interactive product menus. You know, you have your TV here. You know, maybe every now and then something flips to something educational for them.
Absolutely.
Tip of the day, educational thing of the day. They're going to see it. It's up to them whether they want to read it or not. Eventually they will. Bud tender challenges. This one I love. Once it gave me this suggestion, I was like, I love this. Ask me days. Have a day where you can go in and ask the bud tender anything. and they can give you something educational. There's actually a game streamer. I had him on last week, Skunk Gaming's. He has a reward point system on his thing. Amount of time you watch, you get points, all stuff. You can redeem it, and one of them is a random grow tip. So if you redeem this point or the points, he will have to give you a random grow tip. And I love that. It's something educational, something out that he knows, and something through experience. So I love this one, the Ask Me Days, because the bud tenders, they're the ones who are the first ones that we talk to. They should be the most educated.
Absolutely.
Printed media with personality. Don't just give them a sheet of paper with information. Make it fun, make it interactive. And of course, event-based education. Stuff like, pop-ups and stuff are really great opportunities to educate people.
Absolutely.
Or even having an educated-based event would help too. I tried to do the expo last year, which didn't work out because timing and everything, and of course people were short of money, which is fine.
Yes.
And we try to base it mostly on education. It's going to be fun, but you're going to learn. We're going to make the learning fun.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
It makes it palatable for the customers, and they can understand it.
Yeah.
They can digest that information.
There's a reason why every millennial knows the Bill Nye the Science Guy theme song.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, everyone knows that. Bill. We love that. I love that show. And even to this day, some of us still watch his content because it was fun, it was educating, and it was witty.
He's the OG.
He is the OG. This is where I get some of my education tactics is Bill Nye. So I thank him. And of course, my parents who were teachers for 25 years for that. But also, people who also gave me some of these tips too, and some of these ideas. And of course, people like you who are very innovative, you're going to come up with your own stuff,
Absolutely.
and you're going to blow my mind probably what you come up with.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait to see it.
Absolutely.
So that's all I have for this week, guys. Thank you so much, Al, again, for joining me.
Thank you.
It's
again,
been a pleasure. I hope you
thank
enjoy the rosin. And
I
we
will.
can get it in the
Definitely
show.
will. Thank you for this.
Let us know how you guys like it and everything from the packaging to the way it tastes.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to have you again on the show. Maybe we'll do an update and we'll be in Cruces or something.
Absolutely.
Or maybe you'll have a cannabis drink lounge at some point.
Never know, man.
We'll sit here with the margarita.
Never know. Never know. You never know. But ideas are popping up in my head right now.
Yeah. I can see them. I can smell it too. The brain's working.
Absolutely.
So, but thank you again. And before we go, is there anything you want to say?
No, man. I just want to, thank you for coming in, of course, and thank the New Mexico crew for giving us the love and support here at Munchiez. with our reviews, being the top-rated dispensary in the state. We appreciate you guys. We can't do it without you customers. So thank you again. And Munchiez CEO signing out.
And actually, before we go, hey vendor, hey guys, you want to come in real quick? We're gonna do a goodbye to everybody. I want to show off the vendors that are here.
Come on, guys.
All right, I'm gonna bring in the vendors. This is something I was thinking about doing the show. Hey, come on in. And actually, this guy used to work at the radio station with us. Thanks, guys. Yeah, come on in. We're gonna get all the vendors in here. So this is for the 3-year anniversary here at Munchiez. Thank you, guys. These are the vendors that make the industry happen. So please, guys, pay your vendors just like you tip your bud tenders.
Yes. Pay your vendors, man. Pay your vendors.
Thank you, guys. Thank you guys so much for being up here, from your respective brands and everything. Like I said, you guys really help make this industry turn and burn. And thank you so much for showing up here. And I think I'm gonna have some soda now. So thank you, guys, and I'll see y'all next week. All right, shoot.